Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Peace and Profits, the podcast. I am so excited to be with you today for another interview episode with my friend and fellow photographer, Katelyn Workman. She is here to talk to us today about purposeful and impactful connections and how those connections can benefit you in your life and in your profits in your business. And so this is a topic that I was so excited that she chose to talk with us about. And I feel like she can bring a lot of expertise to you guys, the listeners. So before we go any further, I'm going to have Katelyn actually introduce herself. So Katelyn, tell us about you.
Hi. So before I introduce myself, let me just say, doesn't Kelly have the perfect radio voice? It's just so comforting and I love it. So not
Thank
only
you.
do you have a lot of wisdom, but you have just the great radio voice.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I am Katelyn Workman. I live right on the border of Bluefield, West Virginia and Virginia. It's like a tiny little town. I say it's like Stars Hollow vibes if you guys watch Gilmore Girls. I have a 2-year-old baby boy and a 10-year-old daughter that we adopted through foster care. And I actually started my photography business because of her. I was an elementary school teacher, another teacher turned photographer like Kelly.
Yeah.
It's kind of a common thread, I think. But so I was teaching, and my husband got me my camera as a gift, just to take pictures of our foster kids. We had 2 at the time. And then it quickly just turned into a business opportunity and allowed me to stay home with my daughter. She needed a lot more attention than I could give her while teaching public school. And so I just started taking pictures of people, and a business was born. And I love sharing just about connecting with people because I feel like that's exactly why I have a business. I didn't know anything about business. I didn't know anything about marketing. I just knew how to love people and how to connect with people. And that doesn't always come naturally to everyone else. So I like to just kind of share some practical ways that you can do that if it doesn't come as naturally for you.
That's awesome. So when did you start your photography business? What year was that?
2018, I
Okay.
think. People always ask me, I'm like, I think it's 4 or 5 years.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was the year that I started. Yeah, I
It
should
starts
know
to
that,
get
but
it starts to get very blurry, I think.
yeah,
I've told people because often we take pictures before we have a business. And that's
right.
why sometimes you will hear a lot of photographers we're like, I don't know, 10, 12 years, maybe 4. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
it all
kind of
just well, I feel like I don't even know what year it is. So
yeah. 22. It's
okay,
2022.
okay.
Yes. That part of that comes with being a mom more so than probably an entrepreneur. But anyway, so I have to tell this story and then I will ask you the first question. But it's been about 3 years ago. I had Katelyn come to my home and she took some product pictures, well, not product pictures, pictures of me for a course that I was getting ready to build. And I've told the story 1,000 times and it meant a lot to me. So she comes over and she starts talking about how she is spending this time making friends with other photographers. And I was very open with her, and I'm very open with everybody because I'm not a lovey person. That is not who I am as a human being. I am an Enneagram 8, I'm a challenger, and I like to describe myself as hard sometimes. And
And I'm
I
the
re-
complete opposite. So
yeah. And it's so interesting though, because I do also think the only reason I have a business is because I connected with my customers. That's it.
Mhm.
Long before I was any good at taking pictures, I was good at talking to people. But anyway, Katelyn tells me about her making friends. And I remember just very honestly, not in a bad way, but I was just like, I don't need that because that was not part of me as a human. I would run my business and I was very close with my customers, am very close with my customers. I would know, heck, I know some of their birthdays. It's crazy. But in my real life, outside of the sessions, I lacked a connection that I didn't know that I needed with other people interested in the same kind of things. And so whenever I started to interview people, I was really hoping that Katelyn would be like, yes, I would like to do this. Because that sentence to me, when she was talking about how important it was for her to make those friendships, stuck with me for the past 3 years, because since then I've just changed so much and now see the value of that so much, not just in my business or my profits, but also in my life. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, because, that connection that you made with me that day, it just stuck with me because I realized that it is so valuable. So now I want to ask you our very first question, but what is the importance for you of connecting with your photography customers? Why is that important?
I feel like this is such a deep question. You could go so many different
Loaded.
ways with this. Yeah. Which I just,
Yes,
how ironic that 3 years ago you were telling me, I don't need friends.
I don't need
I
it.
can do this by myself. And now look at your business and how much it has grown,
Yeah,
to businesses just based
too.
on how you've connected with people. But yeah, it definitely starts with your customers, because if you're not connecting with your clients, if you're not serving them well, you're not going to continue to have clients. Um, we are a service-based business. I'm a service-based business as a photographer, and it's my job to serve my clients. And I think that when they are investing so much in me, they deserve just a great experience from the beginning to the end. And that benefits my clients because they're getting a great experience. If I know that my bride is uncomfortable with something, like the way her hair falls, or she's maybe uncomfortable with her midsection, then I can pose her a certain way, and I can listen to my client and understand that in order to serve her well. So it's going to serve my clients well if I connect with them, if I know them as people. They feel a lot more comfortable with me when they know who I am. I'm not just showing up this awkward photographer, not saying anything on their
Right,
wedding day, their most important
right.
day. Like, they already feel like I'm friends when I get there. And that's so important to me. And it
So
also
pause for there.
serves,
Just
yeah.
pause right there for me 1 second. How do you do that? So what in your business do you do prior to seeing them that helps them feel comfortable with the girl they're meeting in the parking lot?
So many things.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will start just with how I book clients using social media, because I think
Okay.
a lot of people don't know how to do this. And I think that it's really applicable to people who are in network marketing, people who are doing all kinds of different things. So I show up personally. I use personal marketing. I share my story. This started with me having a little WordPress blog, not knowing what I was doing, not knowing that it was going to help grow my business, but just sharing my foster care journey. So I started my blog just to have a place to share pictures and to just kind of like share what was going on in our lives, because foster care is really hard. And as I was sharing our story through the blog and through Instagram stories, I realized that people were connecting with who I was. And then I was booking clients because of that.
Yeah.
So it starts with that, with my personal marketing, how I'm representing myself as a brand. As soon as they book as a KWP bride, they know what that experience is going to be like. And they know who I am just based on how I present myself online. So I think that's the first step, is just making sure you're really clear in your branding and really clear in who your ideal client is and how to connect with them. And then second, just throughout the whole process, I make sure that I'm easy to communicate with and I'm there for them every step of the way. I'm not their wedding planner, so they do
Yeah.
have a planner who is there for that, but I don't want
Almost
them to
always,
feel like,
right?
yes,
Almost always.
hopefully, if you're getting
Yeah.
married and you don't have a wedding planner, please do that, because they're amazing. Um, but they do have their planner to communicate with. But I also want them to feel comfortable emailing me and saying, hey, I'm between these two shoes. Like, what do you think would look better? Or, we really want to have this particular look. What should we do? How should we plan our timeline for these pictures and things like that?
Mhm,
So I think just making sure that I'm available to communicate with them.
mhm.
And I love gifting our clients. My love language is gifts. And so I love doing things like, sending little gift baskets. I send like a bridal guide. So just making sure that they feel loved as people and they trust me before I show up.
And I think that the really good lesson for all new entrepreneurs, whether you're a photographer, you're in network marketing, you're a videographer, you bake cakes, to me, what I'm hearing you say over and over again is conversation. It's
Yep.
having these conversations, however that might look, whether that's on social media or whether it's through a note or whether it's through a text or an email. It's these constant conversations. And I think that that is undervalued so much in so many businesses, is not just for you to give information, but then also to be listening to their response. Because I'm sure that you find that as well. Like, that's where the connection comes from, is listening to what they want. and what they want it to look like and how they want to feel and just paying attention. So to me, it seems like that is where so much of that connection comes from. And you are giving a lot more than gifts because you're giving them that time to have the
Right.
conversation. Yeah, to be available for them and for them to feel safe taking your time. I think that that is so important because I've had people come to me after they've worked with like other people and they're like, I felt like I was always bothering them. And I
Oh,
never,
it should never feel like that.
it should never
But you do have to set boundaries for
100%
you
talk
and
about that.
for
Yeah.
them. And you have to communicate those boundaries to them. I tell my clients, I'm not available for a phone call 24/7. I have 2 children, and you don't want me talking to you about your wedding when my kids are screaming in the background or whatever, you know? So I have to schedule those things. And I
Sure.
think if you communicate your expectations with your clients too, they know, I can email at this time or I can call at this time, and you have those boundaries, because you can get really burnt out if you feel like you have to be available
All the time.
24/7.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the do not disturb on my phone.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't use it like I should, but
Oh, I do.
yeah.
I do. In fact, that is where my boundary lies because people know, I mean, you can text me, you can email me at 2 a.m., but you will not hear from me until 10 a.m. the next day. So like
Yes.
you can text me anytime you want, but that do not disturb is gold in my life. Okay, so the importance of customers in photography is just simply invaluable. And I feel like most people know that, but they're not quite sure how to achieve that. And I think what Katelyn and I are both saying is like talk to people and listen to people.
No
And
matter who the person is, even if it's not just your clients. We
yeah,
had a wedding recently and we were sitting eating. We weren't like where guests were eating. We were eating
sure.
off to the side, and there was a bartender there. And so I just kind of made conversation with him, like, "Oh, how long have you been working here?" And just started talking to him, treating him like a real person, even though he's just there serving alcohol. Turns
Right.
out he's the venue owner. He
Oh,
owns the whole establishment. And if I
oh,
had just come up to him and been snooty and ignored him because I don't have time to talk to a bartender, like how
sure.
terrible would that have been for my
Right.
business?
Were you at
But because
Unity
I
Barn?
just, no, but he
Okay.
does that too.
He does it too. Yeah.
Yeah. But I just think it's important to treat every person as if they are important, because they are
Because they
important.
are. They are
Yes.
important. Yeah. And that for new business owners, I think that that was a very good lesson, which I believe I actually did have that in the beginning. So when I first started my business, I was actually a youth director at our church. And as such, you're constantly practicing humility and teaching kids that as well. And one of the first things that I started to remind myself, like out loud to myself, when I would get cut off in traffic, I would be like, that could be my next customer. When
Yep.
some yeah, like when a waitress would be absolutely as slow as molasses, as my grandmother would say, that could be my next bride. And so I was very aware and conscious of showing people kindness. And that was so good for my business. And of course, it's a good rule for life, but
Right.
it's a great rule for business. Okay, so we're going to move into question number 2. How does community connections impact your profits? So you're making these connections in the community. You're talking about you made friends with the vendor owner. Obviously, that's super important. How do you think that you valuing connections so much as you do impacts your profits, impacts your bottom line?
Well, I can tell you very clearly that my wedding last weekend was booked as a referral from Kelly Carrico.
Oh, yay.
So that friendship, because there are only so many Saturdays that Kelly can work. So when Kelly's
Yes.
busy and she sends those clients to me, then I'm making more money because I
Yep.
was friends with her, right? A lot of my clients come from photographers who are already booked. A lot of my clients come from vendors. So making friends with planners and making friends
Mhm.
with venue owners, making friends with florists. And it sounds silly to say like, oh, I'm investing time in making friends and that's growing my business, but it really is. No matter what your business is, it's just amazing how important connections are. My dad used to joke when I was a kid that people would literally knock on my door and offer me jobs. And it's crazy, but they did. I worked as a dental assistant when I was 18 and I had no training as a dental assistant. And it just always happened this way, but it's
Yeah.
not just coincidence. It's not just that I was lucky. It's that I knew the right people. And I think
Mhm.
that that is so important no matter what your business is.
Yeah, and I would love to expand on this. This is not something that I told you I was going to ask you, but do you believe that building these connections builds trust? And if so, do you feel like trust also affects your profits and your bottom line?
Do I think it builds trust with clients?
When you're building trust, do you feel like that also will build your bank account?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, so the last wedding that I booked came from a referral from a planner.
Mhm.
And the bride booked immediately as soon as she saw it was available because she already trusted that planner. So it was that same,
Yes.
she trusted me because she trusted the planner.
Right.
And yeah, I just think that people want to buy from people that they like and know and trust. So
Yep.
it's all connected.
It's all connected. Yeah,
I didn't
because
make
it
up that saying. I don't know who says that.
I
So
don't
I'm
know. I,
quoting
I say
someone,
it
but
all the time, but
yeah.
you didn't hear it first from me. I can
Right.
promise you that. Yeah, I know that whenever we're building these connections, it's like I don't, and I am still this way. This is still 2019, pre Katelyn Workman coming to my home. Kelly, this is the truth of me. If I say somebody is good, they're good. You can bank on that.
Mhm.
I don't compliment everyone. Like I won't say something bad, but I don't compliment everyone and I don't refer everyone. And so if I tell you that I think Katelyn will do a great job on your wedding, you can bank on I trust her. And
Mhm.
for me, I feel like trust is so valuable in this business. And I feel like too, that is what has kept me going for so long because I retired from teaching in 2012. And so that's been a long time to do this business. And so much of it just came from connections and trust. So, do you feel like you're making connections with your customers, you're making connections with your community? But I also know that you spend time um, building connections with other photographers. How, other than referrals, has that benefited you?
So many ways. I've built a whole retreat around this idea.
Okay.
But I just think that you can't do anything alone. And my husband is very supportive, but there's only so much support that he can give me when it comes to my growing my business, right? We have the same, I guess, knowledge. Like I'm hearing things from him all the time, but I need to be pushed farther. This quarter, I have invested with in a mastermind with Hope Taylor. If you guys know who she is, if
Oh,
not,
yeah.
she's amazing.
Senior
And
photographer. Yeah.
so, yes, she's a senior
Mhm.
photographer, but she's also an amazing businesswoman.
Yeah.
And so through that mastermind every week, I get to talk not only with her, but with 10 other business owners. And the ideas that they have that they've been able to share with me has just kind of skyrocketed things that I wanted to do. So I think having those connections with other photographers, with other people in the industry and other business owners, it doesn't have to be photographers, and
Sure.
just hearing ideas that they have and just being able to push each other and encourage each other. Like I work right now, I'm sitting in my basement office, which is kind of not amazing, right? And
It's
if I'm
perfect.
just in my little, I do love the space, but if I'm just
Yeah.
like in my little basement every day by myself, trying to book clients and trying to serve them well and doing all of these completely alone, I'm gonna get burnt out really quick. And that's what I saw pretty early on, was that photographers who were in it kind of like the 3 to 5 year mark, they would just fall off. They
Mhm.
would quit because they're burnt out, they're either not profitable or they're just discouraged. And so I think just having a community of people to encourage each other and to push each other is the best way to have a sustainable business.
Do you think that you follow the philosophy of community over competition?
Yes, I do.
And if so, like how do you feel like you implement that in your work and in your life?
Yes, so community over competition, that idea was started by Natalie Frank, who is
Mhm.
amazing. I'm actually reading her book right now. If you guys want to read it, it's called Built to Belong. It's very good. It's very
She has such a
challenging.
cool story.
Yeah, I love her.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually didn't know who she was when I met her. And then I felt really embarrassed because I was just casually talking to Natalie Frank, who's kind of a big deal.
Maybe that's good. Maybe it's good that
Yeah,
you didn't
maybe
know
it
who she
is.
was. Yes.
But yeah, this whole idea of community over competition, and it's kind of a mindset shift for some people. Like I have talked to photographers who have told me, like, I have a wall built up. I'm not going to,
Hmm.
literally, one told me this, I'm not going to share with you because you are my competition.
Oh,
Um, and now she refers brides to me and I refer brides to her. And it's just amazing. Like, um, I just think that there are enough clients to go around no matter what your business
mhm.
is. And I think that if I am booked on a Saturday, there's no reason why I can't refer my competition to someone else. And
Right.
that has just come back to me tenfold by thinking that way about my business.
Yeah. And I think that it has a lot to do with the abundance mindset. And I've heard a
Yes.
lot of different people talk about it, but for us, probably the most, I don't know, the one that you can connect with the most, I guess, would be Caitlin James.
Right.
But years ago, before Caitlin James was the Caitlin James of 2022, it was probably 2017. And I heard her speaking somewhere, don't know where. And she was talking about the abundance mindset and how she had to begin to realize that, there is an abundance of money. There is abundance of customers, and that it was something that she had to work on, in the freedom that comes in community over competition. And when I mean freedom, I mean like lifting of anxiety. For me, that's what helped me the most. Because did you ever play sports, Caitlin?
No, I was a dancer.
Okay. Maybe that might be the difference right there. Because my Emma, she's a dancer, and she is competitive, but not to the point that I think that it can like harm her later in life. And I was
Mhm.
so competitive. I played sports my whole life. And that was what I had to get rid of in order to grow. And so if you are an entrepreneur listening to this, and maybe you played sports and you were taught like to hate the other local team and like to, fight till the end, when you begin to release that, I feel like you'll grow so much, because that is where you can build your connections. But
I know
really,
that you're interviewing and you're supposed to ask questions, but I have a question for you, if I
go
can
for
do
it.
that.
Yes, of
um,
course.
what do you think helped you make that pivot from feeling
Um,
like I don't need anyone, I'm doing it competitively, to, oh, I actually do need to work with other people?
okay. And so I'll first say that in my life, I try to focus on I want it more than I need it. And so I began to realize I don't actually need it. I can be successful on my own. I can be successful in my own little shell. I want to make connections with other people now. And that came out of 2020 being non essential.
Mhm.
And I started my business from a very humble place, and I grew very quickly, and I made a lot of money. And I went through a phase of people did sometimes step on my toes, and people did sometimes take ideas, which you don't own ideas, but we won't get into all of that. But
That's a
anyway,
whole nother
that's
episode.
a whole nother episode. Like, you don't own the idea of, shooting in a field at sunset. Sorry. Like, I'm not,
What?
right? Nobody's copying you if somebody did that. But anyway, I'm not gonna go down that road. But what I am gonna say is that in 2020, March of 2020, I had 6 brides cancel on the same day whenever the world shut down, and I lost $18,000 in revenue. And it brought me back to a place of humble. And it wasn't that I needed other people, but I wanted to talk to other people who could feel the way I felt. I
Right.
wanted to talk to other people who could understand what it feels like to spend 10 years building a business, and in one day you think maybe you've lost it.
Mhm.
And so that, out of that birth, a different empathy for other human beings, that somewhere along the lines of being a busy mom, being a busy entrepreneur, making 6 figures for many years, I lost, because I was too busy to be empathetic for anybody else's situation, because I was so wrapped up in my own stuff. And when the world stopped, so did I. And so I started to see, you know what? It wouldn't be so bad to know some other people who can relate to me. Because, like you said, my husband's very supportive. And my friend Brittany and I joked right before we jumped on here, like, if we decided to bring home a giraffe tomorrow and put it in the backyard, Tim would be like, "Where do I build the fence?" Like, I'm cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's the husband I have.
Yeah, same. It would take him 2 weeks to get on board, but then he would be all,
But
all
then we're
there.
fine. Yeah, just
Yeah.
tell me where to put it. I'm not even fighting it anymore. But after 2020, that is when I began to see I need to do this differently, or I want to do this differently, because I want it to feel different. Also, I have a lot to offer. Like, I have a lot that I can show people. I've been doing it so long. And the only way to do that is through connections.
Right.
Yeah.
I just ask because naturally I think I want to be with people. Like, I'm very extroverted and I want to be doing things with other people, but some
Yep.
people listening may not have that naturally in them. So
Right.
hearing from someone who doesn't necessarily think that way naturally, like how that has
Right.
shifted for you, I think is good.
Yeah. And I am absolutely the example of the extroverted introvert. And that was something that I actually worked through Thrive, through network marketing, because I didn't know how people were perceiving that. I didn't know that people, they would see me like on a recorded podcast. They would see me on a live. They would see me doing these videos. They would see me doing these courses. And what they don't understand is that really I'm here alone. And
Right.
so a lot of times I'm at my best when I'm here by myself, as an introvert would be. So then they would see me out in these huge spaces and I would almost be like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Like I'm going to excuse myself. And I
Hmm.
don't know if anybody listening can relate to that, but people would perceive it as I was being kind of like distant or almost snotty. And so through my other business, through Thrive, which you have to connect with people, it's all about making people feel better. I had some people very lovingly tell me, like, this is what it looks like when you have to go back to your room during a conference and be alone. And it helped me so much to see, oh, okay, like this is something in my life at almost 40 that I need to be aware of, because that's not what I want people to think of me. And so guys, like if you are an introvert listening to this, you 100% can be successful if it doesn't come as natural to you as it does Katelyn, but it might take some awareness. and,
Right.
and that's
Exactly.
what I needed. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I think that actually segues really well into the next question that I wanted to ask you. But how do you show up publicly so that people actually can connect with you on a personal level?
I think that there's two parts to this. One is in person and one is online. Um, in person, I show up just by serving everyone that I come into contact with, right? So that might mean taking water to the DJ or something like that. Like I'm always going to be showing up and taking the time to listen to people and to serve people well. And just connecting in the community with things that don't necessarily come back to my business. Like I love supporting small businesses. So like once a week I go and I work typically at Blue Spoon, which is this tiny, cute
Oh
little
yeah.
cafe in
Yeah.
Bluefield. And it's run by a female entrepreneur. So I love supporting her. Or sometimes I go to the Grind in Bluefield, Virginia, which is another newer business. And I love to just like go and work there. And I post on social media that I'm there and I share their food or their coffee or whatever, because I like supporting people. And I think that that kind of gets my name out there in the community too, that people see, well, Katelyn, she cares about other people and she cares about
Mhm.
supporting other small business owners. And I think the same thing online. I teach people to come up with your like core focus is what I call it, your core connection points. So basically choosing what you want to share with the world. I think you have to be careful not to share every aspect of your life. There are a lot of things that people don't know about me on social media, even though it looks like I'm on there all day, every day. So
Yeah.
choosing things that you want to share. And there are things that you may not want to share for your kid's safety. If you're a mom, you know, I may not want to share where my kid goes to school or where she dances or what time her dance class is or things like that because of the world we live in. But
Right.
I do choose to share recaps of our trips when we travel. And I choose to share about coffee and about Chick-fil-A and about date nights. And these are all little things that I choose to share, and I show up and I share them. For me, that looks like showing up on Instagram stories. I always tell people to start with that because it's easy. They only last for what, 24 hours? Is it 24 or
Yeah.
48 hours?
Yeah.
24 hours. So it's a really easy way. Kelly does a great job of this, of just showing up and connecting with people, sharing things that you wouldn't think really matter, but they connect with people. When I share that I got Chick-fil-A that day, then people are like, oh, that's what I get from Chick-fil-A. And suddenly they're friends
Right.
with me.
Yeah.
Jenna Kutcher talks about this a lot. She has a podcast. I think Kelly listens to Jenna,
Oh yeah.
but she loves mac and cheese. And so everybody who knows Jenna Kutcher knows she loves mac and cheese. So finding your mac and cheese, whatever that is, that is going to allow you to connect with people. I also think that you can choose something that is really important to you. I know that Kelly talks a lot about having peace and profits, right?
Mhm.
So that's the whole point of this, right?
It's just the name of the show. It's fine.
Yeah. But one way to have peace for me, I think, is to make an impact with my business as well. So I do share a lot about foster care, and that has allowed me to connect with people personally, but it's also allowing me to make a difference in that community. We've had a lot of couples that start fostering after they get married, and we have just people who reach out and say, you know, I'm on this foster care journey, I need help. And even though we aren't currently accepting placements, that's a way that I can give back and our business donates to Children's Home Society, which is the organization that we fostered through. And you can tell I get excited because I start talking really fast.
No, you go ahead.
But yeah, I just think showing up on social media, however you choose to do that, and being a real person. I think if every day I got up on my Insta story and I said, hey, we're booking weddings today. Here's my prices, call me. And then like every post was like, hey, we're booking weddings today, call me. Then people are going to be like, who is this person? Like, I'm not going to keep following them. In fact, my dad once told me when I had just started and my Instagram was finally like really consistent. And I was like so proud of all these weddings because I finally had beautiful weddings on here. And my dad was like, well, I stopped looking at your Instagram because I don't know any of these people. I was like, all right, cool. But I realized that that's true for everyone. You know, the people that care about those wedding pictures are potential brides or people that were in the wedding, or other photographers, whatever. But the other like 80% of my following on Facebook and Instagram doesn't necessarily connect with that. So by sharing personal things and people, they want to connect with me, they want to see my cute kids, that keeps me like top of mind. So when their cousin's getting married, they think, oh, I really like Katelyn. She's a wedding photographer. And that connection just allows for that booking. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. It totally makes sense. And I think that what you're saying is that like you have to show up as yourself authentically, but you don't have to show all parts of you and share all parts of you. And I heard Jenna Kutcher on a podcast, I think with Jay Shetty the other day. She was talking about how she wants the life that isn't seen to be even more beautiful than the life that you do see. And I loved that because she is sharing so much. She always has. And, but there is so much that we don't see. But of course we see a lot more than just her business. And, you know, you do a great job of that. And so many people are getting better about that. But I love the point that you had about choose the parts you want to share. Right. Because for me, what has really made my life and my business easier is being so intentional. Like I will intentionally share this part. Because when I do that, then it's like you give yourself freedom to share the Chick-fil-A, but you don't have to share the rest of your day. And that rhymed and that felt good.
Great. That's the little clip that you need to keep, right?
Yes, that will be on a reel later. Okay. All right. So before we finish up, and you've already given so much advice, but if you do have a new photographer, a new entrepreneur listening to this today, what advice would you give them? Where do you start with building connections to build your business?
I think start by just showing up confidently. I think maybe I did this a little bit too much, but you have to believe in yourself and take yourself seriously from the very beginning. If you are going up and trying to make connections and you're like, well, I have a camera and let's be friends. Then they're going to be like, okay, who is this? You know, but if you're like, oh, I am a wedding photographer in Southern West Virginia, like we'd be a great connection. How can I serve you? And just show up confidently from the very beginning. I feel like that's the most important.
What do you do if you're not confident? Did you ever feel like you had to fake it? Yes.
Yes. Fake it till you make it.
You can sweat through your shirt. You can change it later. Just fake it. Okay. I don't want to interrupt you, but I wanted to ask if you ever
I was not confident. I still am not confident. Like every other day I'm like, what am I doing? Is this a business? You know?
Why are you paying me? I don't know.
Yes. Like every time they book, it's like, did I really just no, but you're always going to face that as an entrepreneur. It's such a roller coaster. Like there will be weeks where you're like, I have made it. This is amazing. And then you have weeks where you're like, what am I doing with my life? You know? So I think just fake it till you make it. You're doing what you're doing for a reason because you feel passionate about it. So just act like you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Cause people want you to know what you're doing.
Yes.
Yes, they absolutely do. Okay. So guys, just in summary, connections are really important. You make your connections through conversations and through being nice. It's the number one tip for all business owners. Be nice. It's what I tell my kids before they get out of the car every day. I'm like, be kind when it's hard and be nice when people are stupid. That is the advice that my children going to Christian school get every day from me. And I think that it's really good advice in business as well. But Katelyn, I really appreciate your time so much. And so for everyone listening, thank you very, very much. But before we go, how can people connect with you? How can they find you online? And guys, I'll put all of this, of course, in the show notes.
You can connect with me on Instagram, instagram.com/Katelyn Workman Photography. And you can follow me and see if I really do what I say that I do.
As you should, yes. And spell Katelyn for them.
Katelyn. There's
Okay,
15 ways to spell it.
yeah.
And I think Kelly's going to put in the show notes too. I have like a freebie called How to Book More Clients for Free or something. And it just shares about how to connect with people. It gives you like step-by-step, basically expanding on what we've talked about. So if you guys want that, you'll have that in the show notes, right?
I will put all of that in the show notes. And guys, if you don't know how to find the show notes, you click on the show and under it, it'll have a description. And in there will be all of those links. And so as usual, if you enjoyed the show, please leave a review and share. Those are always very much appreciated. So until next time, have a peaceful and profitable week. Bye, guys.